Gang hang. Not just any gang hang. Today's the gang hang before Father's Day. So if you've got a bad relationship with your father, I'm sorry for that. But we're going to talk about bad dads today. I want to have a running theme going today. Comic books, worst dads. We won't do a segment or anything.
I really wish you had said something because I would have made it the question of the week.
Well, I was going to, but you already made one. So I was just like, whatever. We'll just do it in the gang hang. So as we go,
All right.
see the chat or raise your hand or start screaming. I want to hear your opinion of comic books' worst dad and why. I got to know why, too. It can't just be like, well, because like Jor-El shot baby Superman into space and they definitely had rocket ships for people, too. I agree. I still don't understand why that went down the way it did. But
they didn't, though, and we've been over that. But
bullshit. Okay. Bullshit. Because everybody else got in rockets and came to Earth, too, Joe. All right?
Nobody else got in a rocket and came to Earth.
Supergirl didn't? Supergirl didn't?
Off that conversation, I was going to say, to start off that conversation, the Rucka series aside, I think we got to go with Corsair.
Corsair's a terrible dad. Totally agree.
Omni-Man.
Yeah.
I would argue Cyclops, even worse dad.
Yeah.
Cyclops is definitely a worse dad than Corsair, though. Because, like, Corsair was...
Yeah, hold on a minute.
Cyclops dropped his wife and kids twice.
No.
Thanos is a pretty bad dad.
Thanos is definition of bad dad.
To be fair, they're both adopted.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, Gamora is his... Nebula is his granddaughter, technically.
Yeah.
In comics. I don't know who Nebula's mom is, though. So...
Not important, I guess, but...
Yeah.
But anyway, we didn't even introduce ourselves. My name's Matt Baum. We got Joe Patrick over here. Say yo, Joe.
I'm the internet's Joe Patrick.
That was your
I introduced myself. Thank you very much.
Joe, but you didn't do it. So
yeah, I'm not playing your games.
Whatever.
I'm not playing your sick, twisted little games.
Saturday mornings, we get together and we wrestle with the gang in our gang hang here. We slick our hair back, we roll our cigarettes up, we sharpen our switchblades. I'm super excited for the Bike Riders to come out. I don't know why, because I don't think it's going to be a great movie, but I love motorcycle gangs. And I love motorcycle gang movies. I will watch
You're so
every
easy to please
one.
In some ways and so hard to please.
I don't know why, but the second they're like,
whatsoever.
They were a gang of hard riding outlaws. I'm like, in. I don't even care if it's good. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about, though. Like I said, we're going to be doing comic books worst dads.
From John. Coming in hot with a bad dad hot take.
Alfred, he could have steered Bruce in a different direction, thus saving all his grandkids. I mean, like, okay, Alfred.
I mean, Bruce Wayne clearly has mental problems.
I'm not saying he's not.
You could have stopped that kid?
Okay, Alfred, if we're going to include, I was going to say, like, I guess you could include father figures. Sure. I mean, father figures. Alfred's a father figure. But didn't Alfred also know...
You don't think that Alfred gets a card on Father's Day from at least half them kids?
How many times have we seen Alfred, like, say out loud or think, there was nothing I could do to stop you, Mr. Wayne, so all I could do is support you and be there. You know, like, he knew he couldn't stop him. Bruce Wayne?
Or a counterpoint. I guess I'm playing both sides here because my counterpoint to that is it's like that Onion article headline that comes out every time there's a school shooting. I can't believe this happened. If only there was some way we could have prevented this, says man living in the only country where this regularly happens.
Right.
Or whatever. Like, I'm paraphrasing poorly, but you know what I mean? It's like, it sounds like you're protesting a little too much.
Okay, John does say, look, sure, you can't stop him now, but at age 8, you probably could have stopped him. Yeah, I mean, I guess so.
I mean,
you could love him a little more, maybe get him therapy, whatever. But we'll keep going. Comics Worst Dads as we go on. The Boys season 4 premiered this week. We got more episodes of The Alkalite to talk about. We have an animated Watchmen trailer. And it seems
they're
like...
making 2 Watchmen movies.
Part 1 and Part 2. They're going to split it into 2 parts is what they're doing. And
yeah.
So I watched the trailer. And first of all...
We'll set up the rest of the topics and then we'll come back.
I mean, that's all we really got right now. Mark Orenberger wants to talk about Dick Tracy a little bit. Brian wanted to talk about
Brian Domingos wants to talk
DC,
about the September comic solicits.
And we'll get there. But this Watchmen thing, first of all, we all forgot this was even happening. It was announced in like 2017 that this was going to come out, I guess.
It was announced in 2017 and then they didn't. And then they finally came out and said, I forget what John said in the Skelenot said in the chat, but it was like 3-4 years later that they said it's coming out in 2025.
Yeah. And like this can't be part of the new slate of DC
This
animation.
has nothing to do
right?
with the DCU because it's not part of the James Gunn thing. Obviously, it's Watchmen. It doesn't take place in the DC universe.
Don't
so.
tell DC that, Joe, because we sure had Dr.
No.
Manhattan messing with Batman and
No.
shit for a while there.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry, Matt. I completely don't understand what you're talking about.
What are you gonna do when he puts like the ring in the Batcave in the end of this movie?
The button?
Or the button or whatever. The animation.
No.
So first of all, I don't know that. I mean, I'll watch it, sure, but does it? Keith Binder brought it up. Does it kind of look like they just traced over the Snyder movie to you guys?
No, Keith was wrong. And you were too quick to agree with him.
I think it kind of does.
They are. No.
It even looks like the same
doesn't look
actors,
anything like
kind of.
No, it doesn't look anything like the actors. They are very purposefully mimicking Dave Gibbons' art style. Look at it again. Look at the 2 screenshots that I posted in response to Keith. They are Dave Gibbons style panels. They don't look like the actors at all. In fact, I think they redid Dr. Manhattan so that he's a black man. You only see him for a split second, but I could have sworn that John Osterman or whatever that they showed right before the accident was black. So. But no, it's Dave Gibbons. It's Dave Gibbons style. Very, very clearly Dave Gibbons.
Fair. I'm looking at it, and I agree.
And now I understand. But it's cell shaded animation, so it looks very much like What If. Marvel's What If.
Well,
I don't love cell shaded animation.
And here's my thing though: is like as much as we say, did anybody ask for this or how long it's taken? Literally, weren't we just screaming after X-Men 97 that we want more superhero animation?
Sure, but like, I guess I'd like to see something I haven't seen.
But do we want more superhero animation that's also something we've seen 1,000 times already?
That's it. Like, we've got a Watchmen movie. That was good. I genuinely like the Snyder Watchmen movie. I think it's a very good film and a solid adaptation. They did change the end, but I think the end works better for that film adaptation. Than it would have the giant squid showed up and shit like that. Whatever, different argument. But
here are those screenshots.
These
are Gibbons. These are Gibbons faces.
And I'm kind of over this cell shaded animation. It's like I don't feel anything. It doesn't have any soul to me. It feels like
cell shading was a really great, fun new style about 10 or 15 years ago.
Right.
And it was all the rage in video games.
Yes.
And nowadays, like all of the Telltale games, the Telltale choose your own adventure, or you know what I mean, point and click adventure games like The Walking Dead and the Batman one and Fables. Those are all cell shaded. But it's 2024 and we don't need to be cell shading shit anymore. And I don't think nobody asked for it. Nobody. Let me back up and rephrase that, JD. I apologize. I'm not sure who is still clamoring for the cell-shaded animation style.
Yeah. What do you guys think? Let's go to the peanut gallery, though. What do you guys cell shading? Is it cool? Is it not? Do we want more Watchmen like this?
I do not want any more Watchmen like this.
Yeah.
And I do not like the cell shading.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say
cell shaded. It's a cell shaded animation from Warner Brothers.
When it has that like ethereal look, like the edges are soft.
Yeah.
And it just like it doesn't, and that's the problem. Like I don't think that the What If show truly lived up to the potential of the concept by just doing like, what if Doctor Strange is a zombie? Like, who cares? But I don't think the animation, it just looks like soft and it looks inconsequential. Like it doesn't have a weight to it. And I think there's a time and a place, but you're going to do 2 of these in that same style. Like, I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
Like if it's different, if you want to do it for an aesthetic purpose, like we're telling this specific story with this specific thing, but just say we're doing Watchmen in this style that it's a serious dark story with like I don't know, everything looks like it's done in like pastel almost, and it just doesn't seem to.
And to be clear, it's not the cell shading that is what's making it look like the source material. They could do a regularly 2D animated movie in that traditional animation style and still have the art direction look like Dave Gibbons.
Right.
The cell shading is not what makes it look like Dave Gibbons. And
do we have an example of something done in cell shading that's positive? I mean, was Arcane cell shaded?
Yeah, I think Arcane was. Yes.
Hold on, you guys noodle that around, and I'll Google it.
You know, while Jim,
I've not seen Arcane.
Because I really liked Arcane.
Jim, you watch more animation than any of us.
What about the Spider-Verse movies?
Okay, so
those are not cell shaded.
Those are not, and I would bring up the Spider-Verse stuff. I think I feel differently about. There's a shitload of CG, no question, but I think I feel differently about it because you can tell the characters are hand designed. You know, or maybe they're going out of their way to make it look a lot more traditionally animated, and that works better for me. But I just don't feel like this has any soul. This feels like AI made it when I look at it. Like you went to a computer and said,
There's something unreal
Chat GPT,
about it, yeah.
make a version of the Watchmen, an animated version of the Watchmen movie using Dave Gibbons style art. And it goes, thinking, here you go. You know?
You know what?
Do you think?
Apologies to Trevor. Yes, the Spider-Verse movies are cell shaded.
Okay.
So, in part because those movies use many different animation styles.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I would say that that's an example of a positive. But examples of things that are cell shaded, the recent-ish, I guess it's almost 10 years old at this point. The Peanuts movie, the Peanuts cartoon movie.
Ew. Which one?
A lot of animated sequels. The thing is that a lot of older things are technically cell shaded.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a modern spin on it that makes these look like what if looks like, or what the Walking Dead Telltale game looks like, as opposed to, say, The Great Mouse Detective from 1986, which is technically cell shaded.
Trevor, what were you going to say? Trevor.
I think like the difference is both Spider-Verse and Arcane, they're 3D images with cell shading over the top, and I don't know if Watchmen is 3D.
I think Watchmen is 2D for the most part.
Yeah.
But it says Arcane is a hybrid of 2D and 3D that gives the show a detailed, textured, and illustrated look.
And I feel
modeled in 3D, but with imperfections and textures that give them a graphic look that fits in with their environment.
Yeah, like what if something kind
of infamous that was cell shaded that you guys might be more familiar with is A Scanner Darkly.
Yeah.
That Keanu Reeves movie.
Yeah.
The adaptation of the Philip K. Dick.
I liked that.
I did too, but it works for a story like that, which is basically a drug-induced fever dream, you know, or like.
Well, and I was gonna ask about, so with Watchmen, I think, at least for me, I would be more forgiving of the art style or the animation style if they were telling a new story. But if it's just retelling Alan Moore's original miniseries, then I agree. Why do we want it?
Yeah, Jimbo, I want to hear from you because you watch
like HBO's Watchmen.
Jim, you watch more animation than any of us. Where do you come down on this? Like, do the anime kids dig this shit, or are they like, nice friggin' try?
What, cell shading? It just looks bad though, because if you look at,
do they even do a lot of cell shading in anime?
No.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Not like this.
No, not like this. Usually, it's usually 3D stuff on 2D backgrounds,
right?
And then they go back over it again to give it a more 2D flair. So, like Demon Slayer is
a perfect example.
of that,
yeah,
on how it's done right. And so but since Demon Slayer is so popular, other studios are trying to mimic that to some degree. But the issue, Joe, is like when I look at I watched the trailer, it's like it needs like another coat of something. It looks so
I don't disagree.
Weak.
It feels like they did steps 1 and 2 to make it look kind of slick, and then they forgot step 3 or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So here is an official definition of cell shading. Cell shading is a type, aka toon shading, is a type of non-photorealistic rendering designed to make 3D computer graphics appear to be flat by using less shading color instead of shading gradient or tints and shades. So cell shaders are often used to mimic the style of a comic book or cartoon, i.e. Watchmen, and or give the render a characteristic paper-like texture. And I think that works in some things, or it's apparent in some things, but like you can't tell me that anything in What If looks like it's mimicking a comic book.
No.
Or that it looks especially paper-like.
No.
Or even that it looks flat.
Trying.
It's
It looks
trying.
like it's trying.
Agreed,
to.
JD. It looks like it's trying to. And maybe that's it. Maybe that's what bothers me. It's like this kind of animation is trying too hard, but not pulling it off.
You see the work. You see it's working.
Yeah. And it honestly, a lot of this feels AI to me. It feels like, and I know, Joe, you're saying it's Dave Gibbons' art and whatnot, but like the scene where the comedian's going out the window, yes, that's in the comics, but that's also like the slow-mo scene of him kicking his arms and everything. That's right out of Snyder's scene. And it would Jeffrey Dean Morgan goes through the window.
I'm talking about the style of the character design.
Sure.
The character design is not based on the movie.
No,
whether or not they take some of the same directing cues,
that's what it looks like to me.
Between them and their God.
Yeah.
If they want to mimic Scott Snyder, that's between them and Jesus.
Well, I think here's the. I gotta jump in here and just I question the why.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like why are we getting an animated version of this movie, and why does it look like they are just reskinning the Zack Snyder movie? And it's just like, I just feel like it's like, well, we can't afford to remake this $250 million movie, but we can spend $40 million putting together an animated version of a movie that already exists, so we can pack a trailer full of shit you've already seen before.
Yeah.
So you can close the screen and go, oh, I remember that from the movie.
Right.
And it's just like, it seems to me not just to look and feel terrible, but also kind of seems to be an abomination of what an adaptation is supposed to be. Right?
Now, if this were an actual faithful adaptation of the comic that included like excerpts from the Black Freighter and all the stuff about the artists used to compose the whose ideas were used to take and make the giant squid, and then there's a giant squid at the end. If this was a faithful adaptation of Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' Watchmen, that is something new.
Absolutely agree.
I don't really care for the animation style, but
it would be
credit where it's due. Yeah, it would be something new. But right now, none of that's in evidence. Right now, all we have to go on, like Matt said, is something that looks vaguely Jeffrey Dean Morgan-esque flying backwards through a window at slow motion.
And
so
it's like comes off as like
I think there's way more evidence than that. I think the character model of Night Owl looks just like Patrick Wilson.
Totally.
Totally.
I said I completely agree.
It does, I'm telling you, it doesn't. I just posted these panels.
I'm with Ian here.
That is not Patrick Wilson.
I am with Ian here.
That's Dave Gibbons. That drawing is a Dave Gibbons drawing.
Ian, go ahead. Don't listen to Joe. You're doing fine.
Dave Gibbons drawing of Patrick Wilson is Night Owl. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it just looks like that. Like I think, like, intent aside, I think that we can all tell that the crux of the marketing thrust with this trailer is, don't you remember this?
Yes.
You saw this before. You remember?
Oh, well, sure.
It.
They want both.
Like, that's
they're
it.
trying. They're trying to have both ways.
And it's Warner Brothers, though. I mean, they literally just like advertised and are trying to buy back the rights to Harry Potter from Joe Rowling, so they can try to get out from under her bad shadow, so they can put out this stupid TV show.
Oh yeah,
which is just another retelling of the books.
No, that's true.
This is their game. This is their game book.
Yeah, what's his head? That's running Warner Brothers. The guy that created Sister Wives or whatever his name. It makes perfect sense. He's just like, fuck it. Let's just cash back in on everything we've got. We don't have to rebuy it. We don't have to rewrite it. Just cash back in and make it again.
They've been reselling nostalgia to us at such a high velocity. There's nothing left to consume, so they're just re-consuming shit that hasn't even had the time to become nostalgia, like the fucking Watchmen movie.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't disagree.
I'm just literally waiting for that Harry Potter TV show to come out just to watch the massive echo of nothing that happens when it comes out, because no one's going to fucking watch it.
I kind of agree. I feel like it's like it's too late for the diehards. There's too much bad press for those who like backed off.
I hope that's true. I hope that's true, JD. But I don't know. I don't know that the majority. I don't know that the majority of diehard Harry Potter fans are as socially connected.
So I think actually there's evidence that it's true, because the thing about Warner trying to buy the rights out from under Joe Rowling is true. That's been publicized, that they are publicly trying to basically say this, they're trying to make this legal steps to make it no longer belong to her.
Oh, and I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
But they wouldn't do it if they didn't think there was a threat. They wouldn't bother if they didn't think there was a threat of boycott, or there was a threat of negative press of even going forward with this project.
Well, so then the question becomes, what's going to cost them the least amount of money? The sales lost from the people that won't support her transphobic agenda, or cutting her a check for $1 million bajillion.
Wow, that'll
for
teach,
the rights to Harry.
That'll teach her a lesson. She'll learn then. Jim, what were you going to say?
That's not about teaching her a lesson. It's about what's going to cost Warner Brothers less money.
No, but I'm like, if Warner Brothers we're trying to do the right things, we paid this monster a shitload of money to get the rights for this. Oh wow!
No, look,
look at
Hogwarts Legacy sold 23 million copies of video game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is still huge. It doesn't matter what she says.
The really poorly reviewed.
I'm with you. I'm with you, Jim. I understand, and I agree with you.
And there's a very poorly reviewed.
I think that Warner Brothers is playing mental calculus.
Sure.
Trying to figure out. And again, it's not about them trying to teach her a lesson or try to make it look like they're doing the right thing. They're saying, will we make more money if her name's not on it?
Of course.
I think playing the cynic too, I'm going to say they don't even have to go through with buying it. They can just say, "Oh, she turned us down. We tried," and the effort alone and the visual press of the effort should gain him some traction,
maybe
as well.
Yeah, we'll see. There's still a 4-hour musical. There's a 4-hour Harry Potter musical that has been on Broadway for years, completely poorly reviewed. Everyone said this is gonna bomb, and fans have kept it alive. It's 4 hours. My God,
there are grown adults in their 30s that have their Harry Potter school
wearing their scarves and shit.
So it's people are gonna watch that show. They're gonna watch that show. It's a generational thing.
It's true.
It's just
true.
Happen.
Yeah, it's
and you know what? To JD's point is that the optics of them trying to get the rights back might look good for them, and then all those people that were giving them credit will conveniently forget to hold them accountable when they go ahead and do it anyway.
Right.
Yeah, and Brian, to your point, I mean, I was one of those adults. I mean, I've been to Orlando 5 times, to Hogwarts. I mean, I have a Ravenclaw sweater. I don't support that anymore, though. I made the conscious choice to, excise that from my life.
I think being a fan of the fiction and the world and the characters, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just it is a shame.
It's just a stain.
This is what she's chosen to do with her platform.
Yeah, it's a stain on it. That's all it is. It doesn't change. You can like Harry, you can like the actors.
But she does not give 2 shits.
I mean,
it's really mind-boggling how much she has. I don't know, 7 times doubled down on it.
Yeah,
it is she's an unrelenting transphobe and bad person.
Yeah,
and because you guys, when she sold Harry Potter, she was living in her car with her daughter.
Right.
And so she's already she's like, fuck you. I've done it. I've won.
Yeah. Well, I would say we've spent enough time on her and Harry. Let's talk about something cool. Like The Boys season 3.
Yeah.
The Boys is back.
Season 4. Season 4.
Season
I haven't
4.
seen it yet, and I don't. And nobody
What?
said anything in the chat.
I forgot about how refreshing this show is, and like, I don't know. I'm not gonna say like
so good.
It right now. It's my favorite superhero show because it just doesn't. I forgot how little of a shit this show gives. It's just like, no,
Yeah.
we're gonna do whatever we want.
Well, and so I didn't read much past like the second or third trade of The Boys.
Mhm.
So, but I mean, as far as I can tell, this bears almost no resemblance to the comic anymore.
It's really shifted. It's definitely shifted, but Garth Ennis, who is like one of the producers, was like, yeah, we wanted to take it in this other direction because I didn't want to just retell the story. And I'm fine with that. And they're doing it.
Yeah.
And it's great.
I definitely like this better than the comic.
Yeah. Like I don't think Firecracker was ever even a character in the comic, was she? I don't recall her.
Again, I stopped reading after like the second or third.
I don't recall Firecracker at all, but I love her on this show as this character that like has a podcast, kind of hot, just calls people pedophiles all day long. That's her whole jam.
She's very much like an Ann Coulter type kind of thing.
Totally. She's like, they've got their pedophile ring, and they'll ship kids straight to your house. If you order a hot dog, you get a little boy. If you order a taco, you get a little girl. And if you order a combo meal, you get a transsexual kid that was forced to change their gender. Wow. It's so great.
I've only seen the first episode, so I didn't see all that.
She is fantastic.
The political allegory is amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
Just a quick, let's keep this spoiler free because the show just debuted.
Yeah, I'm not spoiling anything.
I understand. But like, I haven't seen the first episode yet. I decided that I want to watch Gen V first. I know that you don't have to, but I want to.
Yeah.
But they do. Gen V does link to it, and I was already I was already a few episodes into Gen V.
I've watched all of Gen V.
And,
it only links to it in the sense that a couple characters make a cameo. That's it.
No, false.
What do you mean?
Okay,
false.
Yeah. Matt,
false.
Jim, it's okay.
Jim,
I already know that he's wrong.
But no,
it's
they're running completely separate stories, though. I mean, like, is there something that touches on some of those characters? Sure, but you don't need to watch either show.
I'm saying, as a personal preference, as the way I engage with things, this is something set in the world of The Boys that came out before the current season or in between the current season. So it's not going to be a tough thing for me to get caught up and then jump into the
I burned through Gen V. Gen V was great. It was really good.
Yeah, I really liked the first couple episodes. But yeah, it's but nobody has said anything in the discussion thread, so I didn't think anybody had watched it.
Oh, fair enough. Well, pay attention.
I watched it yesterday.
It's almost like I create these things for you guys, Matt. You only remember we have a Discord when you have some dumb thing to say.
I also have like a show where I can come in and talk. The Discord's for everyone else. I want them to share.
No, the Discord is for us to engage.
But it's good that Joe Patrick, your Lord and Savior, is doing this for you guys, and I think you need to give him more respect. Okay, seriously, people.
Hey, I created it. Hey.
Okay.
Hey.
If we're not going to talk about The Boys, then can we talk about The Acolyte? Did you watch that, Joe? Can we talk about that?
No, but that's fine. I don't care. I already know that people hated the third episode.
I did not love the third episode.
Why? I liked the third episode.
I think when we got to the part with the witches singing, I was a little like, what are we doing here? Like, the power of the one.
Well, I mean, I was legitimately going like, what are we doing here? But in more of a like, what's going on? Like, what are we doing here? Like, what? Like, I was intrigued more than confused.
I didn't hate it because I'm not confused.
And then I was thinking in terms of the witches that we have in Ahsoka.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering, so are we seeing like the origin of that group as well? And then seeing how they both split off as Force users, I was like, that's fascinating. A completely different
I think there's good
philosophy
ones.
Of the Force is really cool.
Yeah, and I like that. I think it's kind of Wizard of Oz, good witches, bad witches thing, right? But JD, it goes back to what you and I were talking about with the twins.
Well, wait.
We are absolutely right. And Joe Patrick was like,
wizard?
I don't think it's dead at all. We were absolutely right. There is something going on with these twins big time. Like,
Joe, stop it.
Thank you, JD. Thank you for at least acknowledging.
I'm not
I said
acknowledging
words.
that.
I
No.
appreciate you.
I'm not acknowledging that. I didn't hate it. I did not hate the third episode, but this one kind of like it got a little cheesy in points, and I was like, "What are we doing?" And
but I mean, it was necessary. I think it was
the kid actors.
And hold up, are you sure that I was dead wrong,
Yeah.
or are you only sort of sure?
No,
that something's going on, because it sounds like you're
you watch
not.
the episode and then you decide, okay?
Yeah.
But
You just said that there's something going on.
big time, but I can't spoil it for you unless you want me to.
Okay, no, I'm just all right. That's fine.
But yeah, so I mean, I think it was a necessary diversion. I also realized that almost every Star Wars series that I've watched in this round of Disney Plus stuff has at least one episode that everyone,
Groans.
Gets their panties in a wad about, because it's a flashback that does some table setting for the story.
I didn't have a problem with that. That
episode was horrible. We didn't have to do that.
I didn't have a problem with the fact it's flashing back. They're giving us some info. I like that. I thought the child actors were terrible. They were just terrible, and they were poorly directed, and like it just. And the singing, like when we got to the singing, I was like, "What are we doing?"
there was some execution issues.
Yeah. Ian,
when does the Acolyte actually take place? I'm so out of the loop.
It's 100 years before the prequels, correct?
Phantom.
100 years.
100 years before the birth of the Empire.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the most interesting thing I've heard about it, other than Carrie-Anne Moss being in it. Like I was talking to my wife the other night. Like, we haven't consumed any Star Wars content since like I watched like the first episode of the third season of The Mandalorian, and for some reason, like I love Star Wars, and my brain is just kind of switched off.
There's a reason why, Ian. You know what the reason is.
There's a good reason.
Everything happens in this like 60-year time frame, and they can't seem to deviate from it.
Right.
And that's why I mean, like again, like the Acolyte taking place without a Luke Skywalker or a Darth Vader or an Anakin in it is like the most interesting thing that I've heard about it.
It's very exciting for that reason, if nothing else.
I will say,
I wish that they had gone back farther. I wish that it was set farther back in time.
I really liked Ahsoka, but that was just me.
I liked Ahsoka's
I
fun.
liked Ahsoka.
Towards the end, it got silly. It kind of fell apart a little bit towards the end, but I liked what they were setting up. When we started jumping in whales and hoping they're going to take us where we're going to go, and they just did. Great. Oh, fun. I was like, okay. All right.
Duh. Everyone knows that's what space whales do.
Yeah, I guess.
The space whales were in the I liked the link between that and Rebels, because I thought Rebels was one of the best animated series they put out in all of it.
I think that Ahsoka, I think that people that were fans of Rebels are probably more prone to enjoy some of the stuff in Ahsoka, but Matt has never seen Rebels.
Yeah.
But I liked everything they set up. It's just by the time we got to the end, it was like, so let me get this straight. The girl we're supposed to be rooting for just freed a war criminal, so she could, not just like a war criminal, like one that's arguably as bad or worse than Darth Vader, so she could get her buddy, who was gonna make it back anyway, and then Ahsoka, who was going to save everybody, stuck where her buddy was. So it's like kind of a fool's errand on both parts, and everybody screwed up the end. Oh, okay. Like they wrote themselves into kind of a weird corner they didn't need to do. I don't know.
Called a cliffhanger, Matt. Called a cliffhanger.
Was it a cliffhanger?
I mean, it's only not a cliffhanger if it doesn't get renewed.
I guess.
It got renewed.
It got renewed. It's coming back. No, but back to the Acolyte. It's so far it's fun. I just felt like there was, like JD said, there's some execution stuff that happened in this show that made me wince a little bit, and I still have like not open wounds, but I definitely have some scars from watching Obi-Wan and watching Boba Fett, and where I'm just like, ooh, are we gonna do another little kid chase scene? Like, oh, are we gonna do another real slow like biker gang? It just, I don't know. It's still interesting. I'm still on board. I hope we don't do more of these flashbacks with the little kid episodes up. The witches are very cool. I like the idea of good witches and bad witches. That's neat. Into that. But That's all I'll say about it without spoiling anything else. You kids watch and
I mean, the
mileage may
Witches
vary.
of Dathomir, right? Yeah, like
Yeah. Is Mark in here? Mark wanted to talk about Dick Tracy, the comic. I caught up on the Dick Tracy comic just for you, Mark.
Oh, Matt, you're a sweetheart.
Well, it's also a good read,
Don't
so it's not like it was painful. It's not like I was like,
isn't
God.
it only 2 issues in, Mark?
Every time I turn the page, it's like, God damn it,
and
Mark.
he had already read the first one.
Yeah.
Let's not act like
I read the second one.
Any great shakes.
But let's talk Dick Tracy for a minute.
I still want to give the man his props. Well, hey, before I get to that, Matt, you were saying at the beginning of the show that give you a motorcycle gang movie and you're happy.
Totally.
And it's not motorcycles, but man, I got a recommendation if you'll take it.
All right, hit me.
And that is a Hulu show called Reprisal. It only went 1 season, and it was more like 50s retro American muscle car kind of gang.
God, yes. That was so good.
Thank you very much.
All right.
It had David Dastmalchian in it as well, who played a really neat like Tom Waits kind of character.
Okay.
Oh man, it was dope.
All right, I'm down.
So yeah, Reprisal on Hulu.
Yeah, it's like alternate history, future rockabilly, post-apocalyptic dreamscape.
Say less. You got me.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know who David Dastmalchian is, he's the guy from the Ant-Man movies who's scared of the Baba Yaga.
Yeah, he's great. He's really great.
He was
also in Late Night with the Devil, that horror movie that just came out.
He's Polka Dot Man.
Yes, he's also Polka Dot Man.
Yeah, from the Suicide Squad. Yes,
he's a fantastic comedic actor, but he also is very scary in Late Night with the Devil. Like the dude has range. He's great.
He's also the writer of the Count Crowley.
Oh, that's right.
Comic book series for Dark Horse,
and we really liked it,
which is totally fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is a great series.
All right. So let me turn back.
Any Denny Villeneuve movie now.
Say what now?
He's in almost every Denny Villeneuve movie now.
He was in Dune. He was in Dune 1, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think him and Villeneuve are bros because he does end up with like a side character in everything that dude does. So I'm fine with it. I love him. So he's going to be he's a new that guy where he shows up and we go, oh shit, it's that guy. And we all feel better about whatever we're watching, but we can't quite always remember his name. Right? All right, Mark, you were saying, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. Thank you. And his character in Reprisal is maybe my favorite thing, perhaps other than the Polka Dot Man that I've seen him in. But I suppose we can move on from David Dastmalchian for a minute.
Sure.
So I want to answer a question of the week, and we do things a little slower down here in Arkansas.
That's fine. That's fine.
This one came from May of 2023.
Okay.
And the question was, name some kind of like property that you loved as a kid and you couldn't figure out why like not everybody else on earth jumped on board with it and
sure.
it, blew up huge.
Like when I loved Megaforce, for example.
Sure. And Joe gave a really awesome answer. That show Cops or Time Cops, which I loved as a kid, with Bulletproof and Mr.
just
Mean
Cops,
and all them.
not Time Cops.
Yeah,
Cops,
it was called Cyber Cops, I think, in the 90s, right? They added the word cyber to it when they re-aired it. But yeah, Cops, Central Organization of Police Specialists.
That's the one.
All I need to do is cyber organization was right there. Come on.
My answer to that question, though, is Dick Tracy.
Okay.
I loved that Dick Tracy movie.
Really?
When that movie, oh man.
Really?
I did too.
When it, I was like 10 when it came out.
Sure.
And the bright canary yellow color, you add all those cool looking 1940s cars, and then all of those themed characters, Flat Top and Itchy and Mumbles and, Little Face. I was like, how did this not? And I realized there's a whole thing with Warren Beatty, like holding up the rights so nobody else could do a movie or whatever.
Yeah, he's a maniac.
But still, I'm like, how did that property not just become enormous following that movie, especially if there was a ton of star power in the movie.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like a famous flop too. Like it came out and
Dustin Hoffman, Al Pacino, Madonna.
Yeah, like it was loaded.
Like a ton of people in there.
And like Beatty produced it. I don't think he directed it, but he produced it, and it was supposed to be like, this is it. This is your huge action hit, and everybody went, like, no thanks. I feel like I'm with you, Mark. All the ingredients
let the man
were there.
tell a story about why he loves Dick Tracy before you.
I think you just did.
No.
But you've got more. Go ahead.
It's right that. I mean, the colorfulness of it, those wild characters.
Sure.
And
it was directed by Warren Beatty.
It was directed by Beatty.
Yeah, I think it was written, directed, starred. I think he wrote that movie.
Written by Jim Cash and Jack Epps Jr., based on characters created by Chester Gould.
Well, don't take my word for it.
Directed by Warren Beatty.
Yeah.
Okay.
To me as a kid, I think it looked like a musical that they forgot to sing in. You know? Like
well, you even had Mandy Patinkin singing in it a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's right, Mandy Patinkin.
Yeah. It's one of those things where like I revisited it with someone not too long ago because they were talking about like movies that are so bad they're great. And I can see that aspect of it. Like it is so bad that it's great. It really is. It's insane. It's like this Beatty passion project where they went for it. I don't know. It just didn't hit me the same way. And I've never, like Dick Tracy as a character, I like the idea and stuff. I like this comic. I think the comic's pretty solid. They're doing a good job with it, although they're still kind of leaning a little bit on the old cheese, which is fine because that's part of the character, I suppose. You know, like he's not shooting anybody in the face, but other people are.
Well, maybe what I want is the old cheese because Matt, I don't look at that movie as a movie so bad it's good. I look at that movie as a movie that's just good.
Fair.
It's not an adult hero kind of movie or an adult detective movie.
No,
it is made at a geared for a kid audience.
Yes.
And at the time that movie came out, I remember they even brought back like that old, actually very racist cartoon, that had for Dick Tracy that had been on television years before.
I forgot about that Dick Tracy cartoon.
There was Warren Beatty and Madonna.
I have no idea. I had no idea there even was a Dick Tracy cartoon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's wild. It leans pretty heavily on some ethnic stereotypes.
Well, sure, but I mean, like look at the time it came from.
I think.
So.
I think my issue with the movie when it came out was when it first came out. I remember looking at it going, Warren Beatty looks nothing like Dick Tracy, and that was just always my big problem with it. It was like I just didn't see it in him, and I was
That's because human beings don't look like Dick Tracy.
Bruce Willis exists.
He looks like he was chiseled from a slab of marble.
I'm sorry, but if you take Bruce Willis and you put their profiles next to each other,
I don't disagree, JD. I think
that was Dick Tracy in my mind.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, and I didn't.
Whoops.
Strip in the newspaper, and so although I knew it was Beatty, always was Dick Tracy.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But this new comic from Mad Cave, I think, is really good. Like
it is good.
I'm like I don't jump out of my seat when I see that Mad Cave has a new release usually, but a lot of times they put out some pretty good stuff.
You know what? I'm starting, and it's not just because like we're reviewing more or we're like digging for reviews or something, but I'm starting to just look at more Mad Cave output regularly because it's turning out that it's all pretty damn high quality. Like I can't say I've read a stinker from them yet. One where I've just been like, no thanks,
I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, but it helps that we're finally connected with them as publisher and reviewer
for sure.
And so because before then it was very hard for us to even find Mad Cave comics.
True.
And so that's why we never.
That's why when they were like celebrating 10 years of Mad Cave, we were like, no shit.
What? Yeah, right. So let me tell you a little something about what the world was going through in the year that Dick Tracy came out. Dick Tracy came out in 1990.
Oh, that's
The
way
movie that
later
came
than
out
I
the
thought.
summer before.
Wow.
The movie that came out the summer before was
Batman, right.
And everybody wanted the next Batman, and parents, not every parent, I understand, but a lot of parents were a little skittish about letting their kids see Batman, mine included.
It was scary.
So when this Dick Tracy, look, man, like he's like punching people off roofs and shit.
Settle
Come on.
down, Joe.
No, I'm not saying like I'm not. Obviously, I love Batman '89. I'm just saying I understand why. Like it's a kind of a violent movie. But in 1990, when a movie came out with the same sort of marketing style, like stark posters with spots of bright color,
Sure.
The same fucking composer, Danny Elfman, did the music for Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
They marketed it as though it were a Batman movie for kids. And that's what my parents took us to see. Like my parents took us to see Dick Tracy in the theater.
I just don't know if Beatty was like thinking the same thing. I think Beatty was just like, no way, this is over the top because
Beatty
it's gotta be, you know. And I don't think
Beatty is not. Beatty is one part of a vast equation involved in any sort of movie making process.
He also directed it.
There are
and
marketing people.
produced
There
it.
are studio heads.
Yeah. No, I get it, and I think they marketed it.
Wasn't this around the same time they also made the Shadow and the Phantom movies?
Those would have come
Absolutely. Phantom came. I think Phantom. I remember Phantom coming maybe a little bit later, like 92 or 93, because it was a lot more extreme in the marketing. But the Phantom certainly was right in there. The Phantom would have been.
Oh, I loved it. Okay, the Phantom. There's a movie that's so bad it's great. I love that movie.
But there's also a movie. There's also a movie. This is not based on a comic, but there was a Val Kilmer movie called The Saint, in which he is sort of
I think that actually is based off of...
He's not a spy, but he's a problem solver.
Joe, I believe that is based... That was based off a French comic. They just didn't follow it real close.
Yeah. It was based off of
No,
French
The Saint
comic
was a
that
60s TV show.
No,
yeah, it was turned into a 60s TV show in Britain.
But it was also a comic about a thief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only knew about the show.
Yeah, the show was based on an old French comic, but but he was a thief. Yeah, he was a famous cat burglar or thief type character. He was kind of like the thief with a heart of gold type thing.
I'm looking for the 19. Oh, there it is. Here's the Phantom. All right. I was trying to remember. It was Treat Williams played Xander Drax. He was so great as a bad guy.
I've never seen the Phantom.
Like, Xander Drax, spell with an X in both ends. Treat Williams was so charismatic and wonderful.
The Shadow is the Shadow is the one from that string that is like sits. Yeah, it has a warm spot in my heart, even though it's not good.
The Shadow is not good, but fun.
I can't.
No, it's not.
The Saint is not. The Saint was not a comic. It was a series of novels.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
But it was the TV show adaptation.
Yeah.
It was created in the 1920s by a writer named Leslie Charteris, and the TV adaptation starred Roger Moore, the future James Bond. Roger Moore.
Boy.
He played Simon Templar.
Starred young Roger Moore when he was 48. before he was 56, playing James Bond and making out with 21-year-old actresses.
Oh, but that was on NBC, so that was an American show.
There we go.
Oh.
All right, let's get back to comics.
Original
this is
release
fun.
ITV.
Or Ian, what were you going to say?
I hate to.
Ian.
ITV is British.
Unfortunately, my constitution will not allow any mention of Treat Williams.
Oh, really?
To go by without me bringing up
what?
The
You mean the substitute?
Hold on.
No, I do not mean the substitute.
Well, that was Tom Berenger.
I mean the partner of Joe Piscopo in 1988, Dead Heat. All right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
a movie that will always be closely aligned with my DNA.
Hell yeah.
By the director of the guy who directed the Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie.
Yes. Absolutely. Ooh. I loved Dead Heat, man. This is before Joe Piscopo revealed himself, and everybody was like, fuck that dude. Like, we thought Joe Piscopo was going to be a major star.
Point of order, Matt Baum. Roger Moore was only 35 when The Saint was on the
a
air.
very young man. Yes. Brian, you wanted to talk about DC solicits in September. Let's get back to comics here. This is fun.
Dan DiDio's back.
Okay, let's talk about the Dan DiDio's back thing.
Wait, at DC?
Brian. Please.
He's writing a short story in one of those Halloween issues.
Oh, I mean, whatever.
The last long Halloween or the last long Halloween.
Is he in charge of DC Comics? Then I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine.
So I did take some time this morning and put some pics in the solicitation thread because they went up yesterday.
Nice.
The couple things, the long-awaited Wildcats Compendium Volume 1, which is it's from number 1 through 20 of the original run by Jim Lee and James Robinson and Chris Claremont and all that stuff is being collected. Which
don't forget Brandon Choi.
And Brandon Choi, yeah. And it's got the Jay Lee trilogy. Is that what it's called? Wildcats trilogy, the little miniseries, which is insane. It's insane.
Those 90s Jay Lee Image comics are fucking bonkers.
Yeah, I almost feel like Jay Lee drew the whole thing and then came to the writer and went, "Here is the story," and the writer went, "Oh shit."
And then he was like, "Let me overwrite over this whole thing."
Right, exactly.
But it's like there's so many iconic things in there, and for me, and I love it. But it's going to be $60 and then half price online, and I can't wait because that's going to be a beautiful, finally printed book.
Yeah, I'm going to pick those up. But I have to, no choice.
It's got one of the things.
You've got a full run of those issues, Matt.
I'm well aware. That's not Joe. You don't understand how this works.
All right, no, I get it. No, I understand.
There are certain things you have to buy in every format.
Yes,
this is one of those things.
Yes,
I hear you. Yes,
I have my unopened Absolute Edition still in the plastic, and now I'll have one that I can read. But it does include Wildcat Special on number 1 by Steve Gerber and Travis Charest, which has never been reprinted. So that's very exciting.
That's very cool. I didn't realize that it had never been reprinted.
It's like a lost book. It's one of those things. It was the first full issue that Charest did.
Say that again. What book?
Wildcat Special.
It's called Wildcat Special.
Wildcat Special.
And it was by Steve Gerber and Travis Charest before Charest took over from Jim Lee. So it's
Wildcats 2.0, right?
No, for like issue 15, he was the first artist on the book.
Oh no way! I guess I didn't know that. That's fun.
Oh my, Joe, you need to buy this book. How about that? Here, I'll buy one and I'll mail you one. How's that? I'll get 2 and I'll send you one because you should have this.
Nice.
Yeah, no, this is like, I don't know if you're.
I don't know if should is the right word, but I understand. I appreciate your enthusiasm.
I dropped in the chat, Joe, so you can check it out.
I'll send you one. But it's very exciting because they solicit it in those like year out solicitation things where they announce it and then it gets pulled from Amazon and all that.
Yeah, they pre-solicit trades all the time, especially the ones that they want to make sure people know about
for like 40% off.
But then they pull them and they never come out. And then now this is actually in the lunar. It's coming out in November thing, so that's exciting.
Yeah, order this now, right?
Order it now. If you look at the rest of the solicitations, you've got Detective and Nightwing. I think Birds of Prey kind of looks like it, and perhaps Batman, but they all look like we're getting like not a reboot, but new creative teams come October.
Ram V is tying his up.
And Taylor and Redondo are done on Nightwing.
They told us that a few months ago. Like this is our final arc that we're going into. But yeah, it looks like they're going to shake everything up.
So I think, and when you start looking at the timing of things, that at San Diego Comic-Con, they're probably going to announce all that new stuff.
Big time.
And if they're doing it at San Diego, it must be a big push. It's all just, when you see everything start lining up, I think that there's something to that. Because why not? I don't know about the Zdarski.
Okay,
I don't know
so
where that story's going to be at the end.
Brian, let me ask you though. Okay, and I'm not saying that like the names they have on it aren't huge, but who are the big names that you get right now to do Detective and Batman? Like your choice. You pick. Brian, you're the EOC. You've got to make a big splash at San Diego. It's got to resonate with fans that are current and old and might come back. Somebody maybe kind of famous, kind of hot. Who do you get? I honestly don't know.
Oh, I cancel all the books. I just cancel them. We're going to take a break.
We're going to take a little break, folks. That's our announcement at San Diego. Batman's taking a break.
Yeah, we're taking a break. Like, there's this Daredevil run that is limping along that limped through the end of the Zdarski.
Yeah.
Like, the next week, it was like, here's the new number one. Take a break. Let's give us 6 months of no Daredevil.
Yeah.
Or add him to a team. Put him on the Avengers.
Daredevil is definitely... I fell behind because I was just like, well, marking some time here. I'll give you that. And even Zdarski's end to it was fine. I don't know. But I'm done with Zdarski on Batman. I'm done with it. He has not done...
Even with last week's issue?
Got great news because the failsafe storyline wrapped up unexpectedly, despite the fact that Absolute Power hasn't come out yet, and there's still 2 issues to go before issue 150.
I know. I thought that was the most surprising thing. Like,
that's very strange, right?
They did wrap it up, and I was like, "Hey, he did it! He wrapped it up," and it was good. It left me with a good feeling of, all right,
fair enough.
We didn't need that entire alternate dimension Joker story or any of the Joker stuff that we've seen in the last 2 years. We haven't. None of it made an impact, but as far as I'm concerned, but I thought he kind of, it was a shaky stick in the landing. Like, if he didn't stand up totally straight, but he was pretty close.
Okay, I haven't read the last 2 issues, I'll be honest, but I can't.
I will join Brian. Like, I enjoyed Batman 148.
Fair enough.
I thought it was a good issue.
I just have not been excited about Zdarski's Batman. I'm not going to say it's terrible, but it hasn't done anything that I'm going to like, oh, remember that thing that Zdarski did? Yeah, I wish they would look back at that, or maybe, I don't know, show me more robot hand shit. Like, I don't know.
There are a lot, and that is still something that's totally unnecessary. But if you read those 2 issues and get caught up, because he puts us in a different place of like he gets there, and you go, okay, like I could see what he was doing, and you can see it the whole time. But it was fun to read. Like, when you get to the end of 48. Like, I felt good about it, where it was not like, oh, another one, Like, and part of it, I think, too, is you get, it's like Mike Hawthorne's going to draw the next one. It's like, it's not doing it for me. You can't go
I don't like Mike Hawthorne's Batman. No, sir.
You can't go from, Jorge Jimenez to Mike Hawthorne and like,
no,
it isn't, because Jimenez looks so good. And like the coloring by Maury is so good.
I'm not going to defend Hawthorne.
It makes you feel good.
I'm not going to do that, but I will say anybody coming after him is tough. Period. Like that guy's
it's true.
Amazing.
No, it's true.
Hawthorne,
it's a drop.
Yeah, Hawthorne's.
That's true, Matt. But I think that specifically Mike Hawthorne's Batman, he draws a bad Batman.
I don't love it.
I don't like it.
I don't disagree. No,
I think he's a good artist. I don't like his version of Batman.
Brian, have you been reading Detective at all? Ram V's Detective.
Yeah, I don't know. I think one just came out, and up until then I'd read everything up before that.
Okay. I've really enjoyed it, but I'm also done.
It's a lot. It's a long read.
I'm done.
And I ended up. I think I did 7 or 8 issues in a row, and that was a lot.
Yeah.
It is.
Boy, that'll take a toll on you.
Yeah.
Like reading 8 issues of the Sabretooth War in a row.
Well, it's like it's a type of thing where it's like Thanksgiving dinner. Thanksgiving dinner is delicious. Yeah, I'm in. Great. And look how great it looks, and it's filling, and it's let's do it again. Okay. I mean, I'm pretty full, but all right. Like, okay, now let's do it again. Like, okay, this is a lot. Like, this is getting.
Now let's do it again, but only the giblets.
Or like Ram V.
It's like,
God bless him. He's doing a little too much, maybe.
I kind of. I don't know in the end that I'm going to think about it ever again.
Yeah.
Which is, you know what I mean? Which is disappointing, because I have things where and a lot of it's the stuff, the timing of when I read it, but it's like, I think of those stories like certain like Morrison issues or Rucka things where it's like, oh, that was really good. I'd like to see more of that. And this is like, man, there was a lot of like mind fog, demon possession.
Yes.
Like,
and like,
I don't know.
I think one of the questions that we will take away from this is like, hey, did that actually happen? Or like, was it? Yeah. It's like some of this is like, did it even happen? I don't know.
I suppose it's too much to ask that Ivan Rice has actually drawn the entire run.
No, but there's been different artists doing it, but they're all exceptional artists. The art has been stunning, no question. But
yeah, I mean, there might be one or two. I mean, it's like any of these long runs. There's one or two where you're like, that wasn't as good as the rest. But
still
Jason,
gorgeous.
What's his name? Jason Shaw Alexander.
Yeah,
the Philadelphia.
Oh, Jason
guy,
Alexander. Yeah.
Amazing. Guillaume March is doing the next storyline, I think.
I know, even that looks good for him because sometimes this stuff is like, Liam Sharp's artwork looks like
Liam Sharp.
Like you're in 11th grade, not paying attention to social studies, and you drew Batman.
I will not listen to this. I love Liam Sharp.
The shoulders
will not listen to this.
Like it's like super.
I think that Liam Sharp is an acquired taste, not necessarily a universal recommendation.
I love Liam Sharp.
It's Doug Mankey drawing with his feet. That's what it looks
like.
It's
like Simon Bisley, right? Like Simon Bisley. You're not gonna hand something drawn by Simon Bisley to just anybody.
It's not bad. It's just, I mean, listen, it's a million times better than I could do. But it's like,
I love his style.
It looks better than some of those. He did that Batman miniseries with Garth Ennis, like Reptile, which was not good. It did not look good, and this looks better than that. So I will give him credit for that.
Reptile?
It was an old story that Steve Dillon was going to do, and then it never happened. And then
Reptilian?
I think
it was Reptilian. That was it.
Reptilian, yeah. And Black Label threw some money at Garth Ennis, and they, and he.
JD, I like how you've switched to a bat and a hat for the end of the discussion.
Oh yeah.
But so the Ram V, like, I love Ram V's writing. I think he has he reminds me of like a Jamie like Delano, like, but by way of Warren Ellis, and like it's a really smart. It's sarcastic, but it's not mean. It's just kind of like, it's a biting kind of writing, and I like I like what he does with characters. And that Vigil miniseries he did, which was one of those like South Asian We Are Legend books. It was the only really good one.
That lost me. Man, that lost me though.
And I read the trade. It holds up in the trade a little better.
Okay, because I read the first 3 issues and I was just like, I couldn't really remember all the characters' names. I didn't really know what their mission was. And I was
not the point. Brian is like,
no, it's true. It is true. Like it's like, who is that? Because they're new, and so he does that thing where he's not. It's not a declaration of I'm Arclight and this is what I do. It's
sure.
Third issue in, you're like, oh, that's what that guy does.
I'm Arclight, the man I'm Slipknot, the man who can climb anything.
Yes, exactly. But Arclight shows up in the detective run a couple times, which is kind of cool. Like,
that's fun.
So they're woven in, and there are some interesting things with Montoya and Jim Gordon. Like Jim Gordon and Bullock are like private detectives together, which I would love to see more of that, but we'll never see that again, which is a bummer.
That is fun, but yeah, too bad.
I'm just like, I'm wondering when the other shoe's going to drop and there will be a reset back to Gordon being the commissioner. At a certain point, I have to think that he's too old to be the commissioner, but
yeah.
Well, Aunt May's too old to be Peter's aunt. I mean, like, come on,
Yeah, but being somebody's aunt isn't an occupation. I mean, they don't give you a gun.
You could do whatever you want. Look, hey, Bad Boys Ride or Die is out in theaters right now, and those guys are impossibly old to be cops at this point.
I mean, Will Smith, I mean, like, neither one of them is retirement age, but they sure aren't like jumping over any cars.
Martin is 100% retirement age. He's not a young man.
You think he's over 65?
I'll bet he
Martin
is.
Lawrence?
Yeah, I'll bet he is. Yeah. He's not a young man. All right.
Like, he says, no, I'm literally too old for this shit.
Right. And ironically, Danny Glover was only like 41 when he said that. So.
It was the mustache. Yeah.
Martin Lawrence is 59. I apologize. He's 59 years old.
I mean, but retirement age for I don't know. I don't know how it works. I don't know how anything works.
You're
I'm
not
never
on the
gonna be able to
SWAT
retire,
team
so it doesn't
anymore
matter.
at 59. I'll tell you that much.
True that.
None of us will ever be able to retire, so it doesn't matter.
I feel that in my bones.
That's what they should have done with Bad Boys Ride or Die. It's like, why are we still doing this? What's wrong with America that we have to keep doing this? The bad boys have to scathing. We're gonna fight for labor unions.
Political commentary.
59, and I'm still battering down doors and fighting albino crocodiles.
Workers of the world unite.
Totally, I would love it.
Bad Boys Ride or Die. That sounds like that could have been one of the fake sequels at the end of 22 Jump Street.
Totally.
Is where like when you get to like 37, when you get to like 37 Jump Street, they're too old and they've like decided to dissolve into anarchy.
All right, it's
Fun or die.
It's past noon. I got to get out of here. This was super fun. I loved talking about all the old movie stuff. Do we have one more? I want to hear one more comics worst dad. I've got my comics worst dad. Anyone else?
Norman Osborn.
Norman Osborn's definitely a bad dad, no question. I would say Kane, Cassandra's dad, Kane from Batman.
David Kane, yeah.
Raised a little girl without teaching her to talk.
I didn't teach my little girl how to speak, yeah.
Taught her to murder from the day she could walk.
She speaks with her fists, man. I don't know what to tell you.
My counter argument will be that I tried to do that and it's really hard. So he might be a
fair. Fair.
You know.
It is very difficult. It's very difficult. When he's
wait. What about Hit Girl's dad?
I mean, he seemed loving, though. Big Daddy was loving, though, just in a weird, bad way, you know? I mean, but he still very much loved his little girl, you know?
I think that for, boy, I don't know, man. I would say that, like, you can make allowances for the literally mentally ill. Like, you have to be mentally ill to put your daughter in a costume and have her behead people with a samurai sword.
Well,
sure. Norman Osborn is also mentally ill, but he was a bad dad before.
Batman is also mentally ill.
He was a bad dad before
he
became the Green Goblin.
Yeah, I mean, Ra's al Ghul, definitely a bad dad.
Ra's al Ghul, yeah, good
definitely
call.
A bad dad. Batman, technically a bad dad. I mean, no question.
That's like Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne is a
Wayne's a terrible dad.
And yet those kids love him so much.
There you go.
Logan's a bad dad.
Logan, Wolverine, pretty bad dad, but like, I mean,
hero.
I guess Dakin is his
I guess
actual
you kind of
kid,
have to know about your kids before you could be a
Charles
good dad.
Xavier.
Charles Xavier, I mean, is probably the worst father figure in the history of comics.
I mean, that's a whole different argument there, though. I think that should be a question of the week, like the world's worst.
Oh, to be fair, he's a teacher.
Who is the world's worst, like, good guy team leader? Oh, Legion.
Oh,
yeah.
Legion.
Yes.
Oh.
Terrible father to Legion.
Yeah.
I do think there's a question of the week here, though, like, who is the worst good guy? and you could absolutely say, like, Chuck Xavier, routinely an asshole, terrible person.
I think we need to establish terms, though, right? I think we need, yes. I think we need to establish terms. Like, we understand, like, people consider the Punisher a good guy. That's not what we're talking about.
No.
We're talking about people that are just awful human beings that are considered heroes.
Right.
Like Charles Xavier.
Yeah.
Xavier. All of Marvel's Illuminati.
I mean, yes and no, but there's a whole discussion.
Yeah.
Here. I can't get into it now, but let's put a pin in that one. I like it.
You know what? Reed Richards, though, good dad. I'll give him that.
Reed Richards, good dad. He's a good dad.
Mostly good dad.
I think there are days he doesn't even.
Hey, good dad, bad husband.
Good dad, bad. Used to be a terrible husband. You go back and read old Marvels.
Yeah.
Reed is constantly like, "Shut up, Sue! Get back in the kitchen, Sue! Stay out of this, Sue!" Like he's just like constantly yelling at her. All right, I gotta get out of here.
Sue.
We'll come back and bash parenting more next week. This is a good time though. Right now, Two-Headed Nerd, Matt Baum, Joe Patrick, signing off. See you guys.
Like.